Alright guys, it's Trell over at goHUNT. We're getting ready to go hunting. It's finally here, and as part of our preseason kickoff, typically we like to run through and do a gear dump for you guys. Seems like every year people are interested in what kind of equipment and gear we're taking into the field, so I wanted to do a run through both on my backpack setup and all my camping equipment, and then the clothing that I'm going to wear into the field, and also my weapon and any kind of tools of the trade that I might need, including a bugle or calls. This is going to be my gear list, pretty much what I'm going to take into an over-the-counter archery elk hunt in Colorado. It's going to be pretty similar to what I take on Utah archery deer, but we're going to focus really on that archery elk opportunity that's coming up in Colorado mid-September. So with that, I'm just going to jump in. I'll start here on the left side of the table and then work back over to the right. It seems like every year people ask us, how does all that fit in your backpack? So I loaded up my backpack. You can see how it all fits in, and I'm just going to pull items out of that and touch on them as I go through. So just starting over here on my clothing system first. Base layer, this is the Sitka brand new Core Merino 120 layer. It's a short sleeve layer. It's just a basic t-shirt that I'm going to wear as my base layer. It's cool enough that I can wear that if it's a hot weather hunt. You can wear that on its own. Nice thing about it is it should dry out really quick, and merino is great against the skin. It's great for temperature regulation. Over the top of that, I've got a Merino 120 Sitka hoodie, which again is part of their new release. It's got the built-in face mask, got a pocket. Again, it's a really nice lightweight merino layer. I'll wear that over the top of this t-shirt, which is a base layer. Those two are primarily going to be what I'm going to be wearing for most of the day. It may be cool enough in the morning or an evening that I'll add a mid layer. But for the most part, hiking, hunting, camouflage 120 merino top, short sleeve base layer from Sitka. Moving over to pants. So I'm a big fan of these Fjällräven Keb Agile pants. You've got two pockets, one on each thigh. You've got standard hand pockets. You've got no pockets on the back, but I necessarily don't really need pockets in the back when I'm hunting because I'm not carrying a wall or anything like that. You've got side zips for venting, which is nice. They run about maybe an inch or two above the knee. I really just like the fabric, and I also like the way these fit. They stretch, they move with you really well. And like I said, for the most part, I really just like the way they fit. They're not too baggy, but they're also not skinny jeans either. They're just a nice fitting pant. I've been using those for a couple years, and those have been my favorites as far as pants goes for early archery seasons. Moving over to a mid layer, this is brand new for us. This is just some testing that I'm doing. This is a zip pullover from goHUNT. I think it's a grid fleece hoodie essentially. You can see you got a nice grid fleece. It's going to provide some warmth. It's a nice weight for a mid layer. It's not super heavy. It should be just a really nice option, like I said, for those early mornings and those evenings when you're on the go. It's got a front chest pocket zip. You also have a quarter zip here, which is handy. You can open that thing up. It's got thumb hole for your thumbs. Keep it down. It's also got a nice little feature here with soft stretch webbing around the cuff, which is really comfortable around your wrist. So that's kind of what I'm going to be wearing in. I would say 99% of the time that's going to be my system is for clothes goes for an early archery elk hunt. Moving over to boots, footwear. So Darn Tough 2012 socks have been my go-to. These are awesome socks. I only wear one pair in. I don't ever change them. I know I've read some comments online, people upset that I only wear one pair of socks. They think I ought to pack more socks in my pack. If you need more socks, go for it. My opinion, I necessarily don't need them. I'll just wear one pair, maybe mid-hunt. I might wash those in a creek. For the most part, though, I'm just wearing those every day. I'm wearing them to bed at night. They're going to dry out in the inside of my sleeping bag, and then I'm boots on and going back at it again the next day. And again, I don't ever have any blister issues. These tend to work really well for me. It's the Darn Tough 2012. But carry more socks if you need them. Moving over to calls. So Phelps metal bugle tube. I used that last year on both my Utah hunt and New Mexico with Neville. Works really good. I actually really like the sound of this bugle tube. It's a little bit heavier, but I like the tone with it. And I'm not a great caller, but that one actually makes me sound okay. And I've had some luck calling in bulls, so I'm going to stick with it. So that's the Phelps metal bugle tube. Cow calls. I have an external cow call. This is like your typical bite and blow. This is the Easy Estrus acrylic from Phelps. Pretty much everybody can use those, including myself. Like I said, not a great caller, but I can definitely sound like a cow elk with that. Moving over to reeds. I've typically got 4 or 5 reeds with me. This is the Phelps Amp Green. I like that one. I like this pack that you can buy as a pack, which is the Pitch Black 1, 2, and 3. Each one of those have different latexes in them, so you can get a little bit different tone out of them. I like that pack. It's a nice little option for it. And then my all-time favorite is the Phelps Maverick diaphragm call. I'll typically have a couple of those with me in my bino harness or in my backpack. Absolutely love those calls. Those have been my go-to. So Phelps diaphragm calls. All right, lastly, I should have noted this. Going along with my clothing system, this is the belt that I wear. I still wear a belt. This is the Archery Kodiak belt. You can see it's got a nice webbing. It also has a leather strap if you want to resharpen your knife. And also on the back of this, it's got a little sharpener stone. You also have a little groove if you want to resharpen fish hooks if you're doing some fishing. But I'm never doing any fishing, but it's nice to touch up the blade of a fixed blade knife. So that's just on the back of the belt. So that's the Kodiak from Archery. All right, moving over to boots. So boot this year that I'm going to be using is the Zamberlan Sierra. It's a pretty nice lightweight leather boot. I like a leather boot because it tends to be a little bit more waterproof in the long term. Synthetic is nice and it's lightweight and it breathes, but it does, in my opinion, tend to lose its waterproofness easier than an all leather boot. This boot's actually super lightweight for what it is. It's a nice height, Flex 3, so it's a little bit flexible. It's got a good sole on it, nice Vibram sole, but for me, I think this is a nice option for running up and down the hills for hunting archery elk when I'm on the go all the time. So that's going to be the boot I'm going to give a go this year. Once again, it's a Zamberlan Sierra 700, I believe. All right, moving over to my weapon setup. This is a Matthews V3X. I've also been shooting Phase 4 throughout the summer. I've been going back and forth between the two bows. Every once in a while, you just get a bow that absolutely is a tack driver for you, and that is this V3X for me. I like the Phase 4, but personally, I shoot this V3X better. And the confidence is everything. I've talked about it before, but if you have confidence in a weapon, whether it's a bow or a rifle, I think that's everything. And I'm just completely confident in this V3X, and so I've been shooting it on and off, and I just keep going back to it because I love this bow. It just really, really shoots for me. So that's what I'm hunting with again this year. Moving over to sights, this is exciting for me. This is a brand new sight from UltraView. They launched that on the 17th, which is a brand new product release for those guys. Everything UltraView does is just clean and functional and well built. This is a 2-pin slider. I put the 2-pin cartridge in it so that I could see the pins a little bit better. You can buy this sight with a 4-pin cartridge. The pins are a little bit smaller, so if your eyes are a little bit older like mine, you may have some issues seeing. But for me, as a 2-pin setup and a slider sight, this is a really slick sight. It's really well built. The adjustment in it is awesome. I can't say enough good about this brand new UltraView sight. So check those out. Like I said, those just launched the 17th. Rest, I'm shooting a QAD Ultra Rest. It's a cable-driven drop-away arrow rest. Stabilizers, these are ramrod stabilizers. I've got a 15-inch front bar with 2 ounces on the front and a 10-inch back bar with 5 ounces out the back. So that's my bow setup. Once again, I'm shooting 30-inch draw, 70 pounds. I'm probably clipping an arrow out about 290 feet per second. Which brings me to my arrow setup. I'm going to touch on that real quick. This is a Victory VAP TKO 300 spine. This is the Elite series, so it's the straighter version. I'm shooting a Easton half-out 4mm insert, which is a 55 grain titanium insert glued in. Broadheads, I'm shooting Sever 1.5-inch titanium expandable broadheads. One little tip about the Sever broadheads, they come with the little silicone rings to hold the blades in. I like to double up on rings, so you might see that I have 2 different colors on there, a black and a red. I like to double those up just to ensure that I keep those blades in flight. No issues whatsoever when those hit an animal, they're going to open up. Vanes, I'm shooting Boning heat vanes in a 4-fletch configuration. You can also see I've got a different component here on the back, which is a gold tip platinum pierce knock collar and then gold tip knocks. I've touched on it before in the past, but these little knock collars, if you're shooting all summer long, they can save some damage to your arrows. I typically maybe save 2 or 3 arrows a year that would otherwise be destroyed just by having a little knock collar, I think. That's the arrow setup I'll be hunting with. I've gone through already and graded those. I've weighed them. I've written the weights on each individual arrow and also given it a grade. So going, front to back, I'm starting with my best arrow, going to my least best arrow, if you will. But in reality, all 5 of those arrows are within a grain of each other, and they're also super straight. So I'm really confident in my bow and arrow setup right now. I've been shooting broadheads out to 100 yards. I'm really, really confident in my bow and arrow setup right now. Quiver, I got a ton of questions about Quiver from the film that we just did with Neville and I hunting in New Mexico. This is a hip quiver attachment. So this is the Total Peep hip quiver attachment. You just loop this through your belt, so your quiver is going to hang on your side, so it's essentially a hip quiver. It does have a quick detach here on this tight spot arrow quiver, which is a 5-arrow quiver. You just basically open that thing up and you can slide that whole quiver off of your hip. You can actually buy another dovetail attachment and attach that to the side of your riser, so you could actually go back and forth with your quiver from the side of your bow to your hip quiver if you wanted to. I don't like shooting a bow with a quiver on the side. I just don't like the way that it balances if you got all the weight on the one side. I also think that with all the vanes and the arrows and the hood on your quiver, it essentially acts as a sail on the side of your bow, so you're catching more air in the breeze. You get a lot more movement in your bow. In my opinion, I'm a lot more accurate without the quiver on the side of my bow. So that's why I'm using a hip quiver. So once again, that's a tight spot 5-arrow quiver on a Total Peep hip quiver attachment. All right, for releases, I'm shooting a UltraView thumb button release. This is a trigger release. You activate with your thumb. As a backup, I always carry this one in the front hip pocket of my backpack. This is the UltraView the hinge release. I go back and forth all summer long with these 2 releases. I'll shoot some arrows with the hinge. The nice thing about these 2 releases is that they actually have the exact same body, the exact same shape. One's just a thumb button and one is a hinge. I use the hinge just primarily for practicing, just working on back tension, working on smoothly rotating and pulling and relaxing through my shot. I shoot the thumb button the exact same way. I just lay my thumb over it, and again, I'm utilizing the same techniques to activate this shot. And working back and forth between those 2 really helps me through the summer and practicing. I carry the hinge as a backup. So in case something was to go wrong with my thumb button release, if I was to lose it, I still have a backup release that I can use to hunt with, which is that hinge. I'd have no issue whatsoever because I'm always practicing with it anyway. All right, so I'm going to dive into my backpack. I'm going to pull that apart and show you what I'm working with on the inside as far as camping equipment. I'll also touch on my optics setup. So this is my optics harness that I'm going to wear around my chest at all times. This is a marsupial enclosed bino harness. You can see it's got a nice option to keep your binos secure. It stays open when you want it to because it also has the magnets here in the front. To me, that's a paramount feature of a binocular harness because when you're bow hunting, you've always got your bow in your left hand. You may be working on a buck or a bull. I want to be able to easily one-handed access my binoculars, pull those in and out. So it definitely has to remain open when I want it to, and it has to remain shut when I need it to. So this marsupial bino harness is, in my opinion, one of the best on the market. I really, really like it. I always have some wind checker in the left pocket. So that's just a little bottle of wind checker. Binoculars. This is a pair of Leica Noctivid 10x42s, which I think is a nice magnification for elk hunting, even for mule deer hunting. You can see that on the barrel of this Leica binocular, I've got an Easyac equipment bino adapter. It's a clamp. It's a simple clamp that just goes over the barrel of your binos, and that actually sits perfectly within an Arca Swiss mounting bracket on your tripod. So no need for any extra plates or anything like that. You want to do some glassing off your tripod, this is a really nice lightweight option to mount your binoculars to your tripod. So once again, that's the Easyac bino clamp. Moving over to my rangefinder, I have a Leica Rangemaster 2000 or 2400R. It's a nice laser rangefinder. The thing I really like about this is how small it is in my hand. I like the feel of it in my hand. It's got kind of a rubber protectant to it, so it keeps it nice and quiet. It's also durable. One of my favorite features of this Leica Rangemaster is that the button to press it, it doesn't take a lot of tension. So there's a lot of rangefinders out there. It feels to me like you have to put quite a bit of tension on the button to actually get a range. And if your heart's racing, if you're not the most steady, you can get quite a bit of wiggle in your hand. So I really like the fact that you can press that button nice and light and I get an accurate range. This does have the angle compensation. You do have to wait just a split second after you range the animal. It's going to give you the true range, and then it's going to give you the calculated angle compensated range. Personally, it's a little bit annoying, but overall I generally like the Rangefinder. I like the size of it, and it works pretty good for me. Moving over to the Rangefinder pocket, this is an Outdoor Vision Rangefinder pouch. It's my favorite. There's others on the market, including Marsupial. Stone Glacier makes a Rangefinder pouch. This one's actually my favorite because it fits this little Leica Rangemaster the best, in my opinion. You can see what a nice fit that is. I also like the fact that it's got the magnets that go up and over, and you've got a magnet in the front, again, to keep that thing open when I want it to be open. And I can't overstate the importance to me of having access to my optics, both my Rangefinder and my binoculars, without having to hold a lid open to then get to them. I have to have a system where it remains open when I need it and closed when I don't. So check those out. Those are in the goHUNT gear shop, and that's my optic setup. As far as my chest rig, I'm going to wear on my chest. All right, moving over to my backpack and what's inside it. This is what I would take for an overnight hunt. I've got it packed right now pretty much, other than food, for 10 days. So I'm going to leave about the 12th of September. I'm not coming home until the 25th. So this is pretty much what I would take on an extended backpack elk hunting trip, which is like I will be doing this year in Colorado here in about a month. So on the outside, you can see I've got a trekking pole. I only ever carry one trekking pole. This is the Peaks Sissy Stick. This is the Backcountry Elite, I believe they call it, with the cork handle. I like a cork handle on a trekking pole. It just kind of molds to your hand, and it's a lot more comfortable over time. The reason I only carry one is because I always carry my bow in my left hand. I see a lot of guys that strap their bows to their backpack. Personally, I don't have any issues with that, other than the fact that I have to protect my bow and my cams at all costs, in my opinion. So I don't know how many times I've been hiking down a steep slope and my heels have gone out from underneath me and you fall to your back. I would say if you are strapping your bow to your backpack, just make sure that you cover your cams if you can and your string. The reason I have always carried my bow in my left hand is primarily because of two reasons. One, I can be ready at all times, and then two, if I do fall over, I can stick that bow in my left hand straight in the air. I can sacrifice my body and keep my bow safe. I'm really paranoid about damaging my bow. I really try to take care of it when I'm out in the field and really protect that thing, because like I said, it's the means to an end when you're out there. For a tripod, some people might ask if I'm carrying a tripod when I'm elk hunting. It depends on the tag. It also depends on the time of the year. Early season, I think it's important, in my opinion, especially if you're trying to hunt an older age class of animal. I think it is nice to have a tripod and a spotting scope setup, especially if you're looking long country, just to kind of evaluate a bull and see if it's something that you want to put a move on. I don't always carry a tripod and a spotting scope, but I would say in a lot of cases I do. Good equipment and super lightweight equipment actually makes it easier, in my opinion, to justify carrying those two. I'm not adding a whole bunch of weight to my system. Sure, I'm adding some. I actually really like having a spotting scope. It's fun to digiscope animals when I'm out there, so I am often carrying a tripod and a spotting scope. So for a tripod, brand new for me this year, this is the Kreitzer AD tripod with the Kreitzer tilt pan head. This is a super light little setup. I'm actually loving it. I've had a chance to use the head last year, and I actually really liked it. It's enough to support a 65mm spotting scope easily. It's really nice with my binos mounted to it. The clamp on it is really easy, just a turn set screw. So for me, this is an awesome little setup. It's really well thought out, well designed, and like I said, it's really lightweight. So check out Kreitzer. Again, that's the Kreitzer AD and the Kreitzer LP tilt pan tripod head. All right, my backpack. Before I dive into it, this is a Stone Glacier X-Curve frame and a 7400 bag. This bag is no longer made. It's one of my favorite bags. I kind of wish they'd bring it back, to be honest. I like the center zip. I like the size of it. I often backpack without a top lid. I don't like a top lid on my backpack. I think it's like the junk drawer of backpacking. It's all that shit that you probably don't need. You just throw it in the top lid. So in my opinion, it's always full of loose material jumbling around. So personally, I don't like a top lid. I just like everything to fit in my main bag. The 7400 is a nice size. If you're looking for a backpack that's comparable from Stone Glacier right now, I would suggest you check out the Sky 6900 or the 7900, which is the guide one. It's the big guy. You can fit all kinds of stuff in that 7900. But you know, if you're looking for a backpack to do multi-day backpacking, you know, maybe 7 to 10 days, I would check out the 6900, and then, like I said, that 7900. All right, so spotting scope is a Swarovski ATM. I do have a cover for it, which is an outdoor vision spotting scope cover just to protect my end lens. I do have a MagView digiscope adapter here on the end, which makes it nice. It's easy to digiscope, and like I said, I do like to digiscope animals when I'm out there, whether it's elk or mule deer or anything that you might see. This is the HD version of the spotting scope. I've had this one for a bunch of years. It does everything that I need, and like I said, it's a nice size for backpacking. Clothing. I do have some clothing that I use and I keep inside my backpack, primarily rainwear and insulation. So rainwear, this is the Sitka Dew Point series, which in my opinion is the best pieces that you can have as far as rainwear goes in a backpack situation, especially early season. It's pretty lightweight. It's Gore-Tex, so it's going to keep you dry. It's a little bit noisy. You can hear it's got some crinkle to it, so it wouldn't be the best option as far as like spot and stalk hunting. But for the most part, you're just riding out those high country storms. If you are hunting and calling elk, I haven't had really any issues as far as noise goes. Typically, I can work in on an animal, set up, do some calling, and it's not so loud that it's going to cause me an issue in an elk hunting situation. So once again, Sitka Dew Point rain jacket and pants. Insulation layer. This is the Sitka Kelvin light down hoodie. This is a packable lightweight down hoodie. I'm wearing it primarily in the morning and evening. I have had some times on early archery hunts where it's gotten really cold and we've had some snows. A hunt that I did with Neville a few years ago in Wyoming, it actually snowed on us probably 2 or 3 inches, and it was like 15 or 20 degrees. So you want to be prepared with some insulation. It doesn't matter to me how early. I always take some insulating layers because, like I said, you could get yourself in a pinch because the weather can change really rapidly when you're at elevation out west hunting elk. Going along with my Sitka Kelvin light down hoodie, I often pack a pair of puffy pants. These are down insulated pants. So this is the Western Mountaineering Flight Pant. You can see I've done some patch jobs on mine. I've definitely started some fires and had some embers that burned holes in my pants. But this is a really high quality set of down over pants. I'm using these primarily at night, you know, if I'm around camp, when I'm getting ready for bed. I have had times where it's gotten really cold early season and I've ended up sleeping in both my down pants and my down jacket just to, you know, stay warm. So definitely I would suggest having some down insulation layers, and I like puffy pants. They're really nice to have early morning and evening and just around camp. And they don't weigh that much, they're less than a pound. A few more clothing items. This is a pair of Sitka Traverse gloves. This is a nice lightweight pair of soft shell gloves. I always have a beanie. I often just hunt with that beanie on my head because I like a beanie. This is the goHUNT waffle beanie. At Camp Kitchen, this is a goHUNT titanium mug, which is a relatively new product for us. This is where I boil all my water. Inside that I keep my stove. You can see the little prongs for my stove. The stove that I use is a Soto Windmaster stove. I can also keep a 4-ounce bottle of fuel inside this titanium mug. So once again, that's my stove system. It's pretty lightweight. It's less than 8 ounces all in. So once again, Soto Windmaster stove, Primus 4-ounce can, and then the goHUNT titanium mug. All right, next out of my pack is water. I have 2 goHUNT Hygiene ultralight bottles. Those are 48 ounces. I used to carry a water bladder, and I just had so many issues with water bladders leaking. I've pulled up to trailheads before with my bag fully loaded and had everything in the bottom of my backpack completely soaked out because the bladder broke or had a leak in it. I definitely drink more water when I use a bladder, but I feel a lot better as far as keeping my gear dry with these goHUNT ultralight Hygiene bottles, which, like I said, are 48 ounces. All right, next I'm going to dive into my Possibles pouch / kill kit. I just combine them. I don't keep 2 separate kits. I keep them all in this goHUNT gear bag, which is pretty new for us. These are nice lightweight sill poly bags. They're great for organizing your gear, and it's a nice option. Either you use them for a kill kit or a possibles pouch, or like I do and combine the two of them. All right, so I carry 3 game bags. These are our goHUNT game bags. This is the elk size. So I can fit a boned out bull in 2 of these game bags. I'll pack a 3rd for a cape if I decide to take a cape out, or if I have any extra loose meat, that I can scavenge and throw in there, I can do that. But typically I can fit all the loose meat from a boned out bull in 2 of those bags. I also have the small goHUNT game bag, which comes with that elk kit. That's a great option for tenderloins, neck meat. You could probably cut a back strap in half and throw it in there as well if you need to. Between 3 of the large elk bags and the small bag that comes with that kit, I can fit a full boned out bull and a cape. So that's typically what I pack. I don't pack any more bags than I need to. I'm not super conscientious about weight, but I am to the point where I'm not carrying any extra gear that I don't intend to use. All right, headlamp. This is my backup headlamp. This is a Petzl Bendy. It's a nice little lightweight headlamp, rechargeable. My primary headlamp that I'm using all the time is a Peaks Backcountry Duo headlamp. It's got a really super bright red light as well as a lockout mechanism. It also has several brightnesses for your white light. This is a really nice headlamp, and the battery life on it is awesome. So check that out, Peaks Backcountry Duo headlamp. My utensil, I've got a goHUNT titanium spork. So I do carry 2 knives, and I carry 1 fixed blade and 1 replaceable blade knife. I carry a fixed blade because it's nice for skinning. It's also nice to deal with any joints. So when you're cutting the leg off, it just gives you a little bit more blade width and a little more durability when you're working on those joints, or like I said, when you're skinning. My favorite knife is this goHUNT Carbon Tur. It's a fixed blade. The second knife that I carry, like I said, is a little replaceable blade knife. This is the goHUNT Titanium Ibex, which you can see is just a simple handle, and then you have the individual blade that pop on. The little Havalon 60A blades will all work, and that's primarily what I'm using for opening an animal up. It's really nice for skinning up the back of an elk if you're caping it, and then also doing any caping that you might need. It's always nice to have a sharp blade. So I do carry extra blades for my replaceable blade knife. I often carry 6 of those, so those are just Havalon 60 blades. Other items that I've got in my possibles pouch, I've got some toothpaste, just a travel size. I have a travel size toothbrush, and then I also pack dental floss, so a little thing of dental floss. I pack that if I needed to fix any serving on my bow. It's just kind of nice to have a little bit of extra thread if you needed to sew something up. Also, you never know if you get something stuck in your teeth. It's kind of nice to have a little dental floss. As far as hanging quarters go, I carry some extra cordage. This is Z-Pac's Slick Line. So it's got a super high tensile strength, and it also is slick. So if you throw that over a tree limb, you pull on it and you're lifting bags full of meat that are super heavy, it'll slide. It'll slide up and over versus paracord. Sometimes it can bind and break. So this is Slick Line from Z-Pac's. It's kind of expensive stuff, but it's lightweight and it's really strong. Moving over to my fire starter kit, I've got some fire starter blocks. These are just paraffin cardboard bricks. I also carry these little wet fire cubes. I typically have 6 or 7 of those in my fire starter kit. You never know when you're going to need to start a fire. It's pretty rare that you do when you're archery elk hunting early season. Occasionally it'll get cold enough where I have started a fire. I carry 2 lighters, so this is just your standard Bic lighter you can buy at any gas station. I also have a mini as a backup. And I also carry waterproof matches, so I've typically got about 15 waterproof matches and a striker, just in case you need that. As well as my fire kit, I also have a Sharpie. That's just if I need to leave a note for somebody, if I need to write on a tree, if I need to write on a tag. Around that Sharpie, I've got some Leuco tape wrapped around it. That's for blisters or any kind of repair I might have, say it's in a tent or sleeping bag. And I also have some Gorilla duct tape wrapped around the handle, and it's just thin stuff. It's not very often that I've used that, but I have on occasion. This one looks like I need to replenish it before I head out here in a couple weeks. Moving over to hydration, to go along with my water bottles, I often use one of two different means to purify my water. I'll either use a SteriPen Classic, which is a nice little option just for treating your water quickly. I also use these Aquamira water drops. You have a part A, a part B. You essentially mix those up in the lid, you let them sit, you dump them in your water, and it'll purify your water. Won't necessarily do anything for the taste, so if you're pulling water from standing water, it will purify it, but it's not going to filter, it's not going to make it taste any better. Often I will pack a drink mix with me, whether it's Mountain Ops Ignite or Enduro, something just to give it a little bit of flavor and potentially put a little energy back in your step if you need it. I also pack iodine tabs, so I've usually got about 30 iodine tabs just as a backup. Like I said, I most often either pack that SteriPen or these. I didn't bring the SteriPen with me, but a lot of times I will take that because it is a nice little option for purifying your water. Moving over to my med kit, I won't open that up and get too deep into it, but I definitely have some Advil. I've got some nighttime Tylenol PM. I've got some cold and flu meds. So I've got daytime and nighttime, just in case you get a bit of the sniffles. You want to take care of that. I've got some towelettes. I've got some quick clot. I've got some large bandages, including butterfly bandages. I've got some Imodium AD in here. I have some regular Tylenol. I also have a small suture kit, just in case I absolutely had to stitch up a wound. I can't really see myself doing that, but I guess in a real emergency, I might have to. I probably need to revisit. I say this every single year. I need to pull my med kit apart and really take a look at it. But for the most part, I've got everything that I use, and I've been doing this long enough to know that I don't often use everything out of this. It is good to go through and replace it though every single year, in my opinion, just so you've got updated stuff. All right, the rest of my possibles pouch, I've got a charger, both for my headlamp and my iPhone. I also often carry a saw so that I can skull cap an animal, or if I need to cut shooting lanes, if I'm going to set water or wallow. This is an Outdoor Edge Grizz saw, so it's a little nice, lightweight, packable hand saw. There's not a lot to it, but it does the job. It's definitely really handy for skull capping an animal. I have my Garmin InReach, so this is actually a DeLorme InReach because it's an old version of this. This is the SE model. I probably need to look at updating this, and I've been meaning to do so for a number of years. I just haven't done it. This one does work, but it is a little heavier, and it's not as quick anymore. So the new Garmin InReach messengers, whether it's the Mini 2 or the actual just messenger puck itself, those do send and receive messages quicker, in my opinion. I've hunted with enough guys to know that they're getting messages in and out a lot quicker than I am. So I probably should look at updating that. Battery packs. So I've got just a MyCharge Adventure battery pack. Depending on the length of the hunt, I will add battery packs, maybe another 20,000 battery pack to go with that one if I need it. All right, the last items I'm going to touch on is my sleep system. I got my sleeping bag right here. This is a sleeping bag from Stone Glacier. This is the Chilkoot 15. This is brand new for me this year. Everybody keeps raving about the way this thing fits. So it's a little bit more roomy in the shoulders. It's a little bit longer, fits up to 6'5", so somebody's a little bit taller. I'm 6'2". Tarp. I've talked ad nauseum about my style of hunting for elk, which is I like to live off my back. I like to move with the elk. I like to have a new camping spot every single day. I often just use a bivy sack, sleeping pad, sleeping bag, and I pack a tarp if I need it during inclement weather. So to go along with that, my tarp, this is a Seek Outside eelless tent, which is essentially just a tarp. It does have a spot where you can put a trekking pole. You can pitch that taunt with your guy outlines, and there's enough room for you and a buddy if you wanted to. It makes more than enough room for a single guy, his bow, and my backpack. This is the ultralight version, which is the Dyneema version of that tent. That's a really nice option for guys that are looking. I'm also probably going to be testing a new piece from goHUNT that we're working on, which is a Dyneema tarp, which I'm excited about because I've often really enjoyed tarp bivy style hunting, especially for archery elk when I'm on the go all the time. The rest of my sleep system, this is a Thermarest Neo Air X Lite. This is hands down my very favorite sleeping pad. I've probably had 4 or 5 other pads from different brands over the last 3 or 4 years. I've tried those myself and also with my kids. it seems like I'm constantly getting holes and issues with the valves. This is the one sleeping pad it feels like I can pretty reliably go to and know that it's going to work for me. So I've had this thing going on 9 years. If there is a complaint about it, I often hear that it's a little bit noisy. The brand new version of this sleeping pad is supposedly quieter. It's not worth it for me to update that just for a quieter pad. I don't have any issues sleeping on this pad. I don't think it's too noisy. And usually by the end of the day, I'm so tired, it doesn't matter at all if it makes a little bit of noise. It is durable. It's 1 pound, even for the longer, wider width. The R value in this pad is really, really good for the weight. Hands down, my opinion, I think this is the best sleeping pad on the market for an inflatable pad. I should note that going along with my tarp, I always carry some stakes. So this is 8 MSR needle stakes. Glassing pad, aka doormat for my bivvy or my tent. If I am doing some glassing, or if I'm sitting in the afternoon eating some lunch, I'll pull out the goHUNT glassing pad. I'm often using this at night just to put in front of my bivvy or just outside my tarp. So if I need to stand on it, use the bathroom, or I'm getting up in the morning, I'm getting dressed, it's just a nice place to have to put your feet down so they're not getting dirty and wet. It just kind of provides a little doormat for you. So the goHUNT glassing pad, aka doormat. And lastly, my bivvy. So this is a Hilleberg Bavana rack. I'm still using that. Great thing about the Bavana rack is that I can inflate my sleeping pad. I can put that and my sleeping bag inside this. It also has sleeves. It also has an opening at the bottom with a draw cord, so it breathes really nice. I don't get a lot of condensation built up in the foot box of this bivvy. It also functions as an emergency rainwear if I need to. So if it's really, really getting after it and I need just an added layer to keep me dry, this will fit over me and my backpack. So that's my bivvy system. Once again, that's the Hilleberg Bavana rack. All right, and last is a pillow. I've been packing a pillow for quite a few years. I used to just use my down jacket rolled up in a stuff sack. I was just never really comfortable. It never worked out like I needed it to. There were also times when I had a cold front blow in and I actually wanted to wear my puffy jacket because it was really cold. So I've gone to using a pillow. This thing is only 1.5 ounces. It's the Sea Summit Aeros ultralight pillow. Mine probably needs a wash at this point, but it's super easy to inflate. And it's actually quite comfortable. If you're a side sleeper, it seems to be right about the perfect height for you. That's my pillow. I always pack that, and I definitely think I sleep better at night due to that pillow. All right, so that's my 2023 gear list for archery elk hunting. Hunt kicks off for me this coming Saturday. Going to be hunting general season elk and deer in Utah, and then on to September, well, I'll be hunting elk with Neville back in Colorado. So that's my gear setup. I've got some new items in compared to last year. If you guys have questions about any of the items that I have here, or if you're looking for recommendations on any items to add to your kit, please drop a comment below. I'd be happy to answer those. It might take me a day to answer you, but I always try to answer your comments. So yeah, drop me a comment, ask a question, and good luck. Most of all, I hope you guys have a really good season this year.